So in Module 1 of my curriculum titled Overcoming Loneliness, Embracing Confidence and Connection is the module titled Decoding Your Family System. And so in Module 1, I teach a tool that's called a geniogram. A geniogram is basically a visual depiction of your family system, kind of like a family tree, but how and what makes it different is that it brings focus to relational patterns, like patterns of relationship in your family. So what does that mean? So let's say, for example, you, right, in relation to your caregiver, your parents, and your grandparents. We have 3 generations back. Now, let's say there has been a relational pattern of not talking about your feelings. Like you learned from your parents, they don't talk about emotions. And your parents learned from their parents that it's also not appropriate to talk about your feelings. You're supposed to maybe keep them to yourself, put your big boy or big girl pants on, you need to stay strong, etc., etc. So a pattern of communication in your family might be, we don't talk about emotions. Now, that can lead to feeling pretty lonely AF in your family system when you're struggling with an overwhelming emotion and you already understand I'm not supposed to, or I'm not allowed in a way to talk about these emotions to my parents, or I don't even know how to talk about these emotions to my parents. So what usually happens, you push down the emotions, you internalize the emotions, and then they manifest as other behaviors. Passive aggressiveness, emotional shut off or shutting down. That's when you just don't want to communicate with anyone. You shut down physically, emotionally. It might lead to physical symptoms that show up in terms of some kind of pain or discomfort. It might turn into other like behavioral patterns, perfectionism, overachievement. It could lead into workaholism. It could lead into any kind of addictive behaviors, because if you are trying to mask these emotions, then you are going to, I would say, divert or shift your attention and energy into something else that really is just a distraction from feeling your feelings. So when you start to decode your family system and you understand different patterns like not feeling your feelings or not communicating your feelings, you're going to broaden the context and make sense of some of the behaviors that could be getting in the way of your own intimate or romantic relationships. Or even more important, you're going to uncover the behaviors that are probably making life even more difficult for you. What do I mean by that? Let's say, for example, one of your family patterns of relationship is to be strong, right? You come from at least 3 generations of independent, hardworking people, which is a great thing. But what can be challenging about that is that you are uncomfortable or don't know how to ask for help. So you end up being a person that does it all, that you're always doing everything by yourself. And you do it pretty well, and you make it even look easier to others. But inside you're exhausted. Inside you feel alone. Inside you feel like, why does no one, or why doesn't anyone ever ask how I'm doing? Why doesn't anyone ask if I need help? Well, because you're not asking, because you learned it from at least 3 generations of independent people. So if you can start to take accountability and responsibility for one of these behaviors, such as hyper-independence, then you're going to have a different understanding about it. You're going to have more flexibility to get more curious about that behavior. And then you're going to have more of an ability to start to change or modify. Now, I'm not trying to change anyone. I absolutely respect and have just the utmost, just respect for the behaviors that you have. But I know that you know that there are some behaviors that are just leading to a feeling of being stuck or isolated or feeling pretty lonely. So when you start to get more curious about these behaviors that are, again, based on family patterns that have been passed down, you can get more creative in your solution to the problem. So with hyper-independence, if you can take accountability and responsibility that you're a very independent person and that's not sustainable over a long period of time, that perhaps you can start challenging yourself to break some of these family generational patterns and to set a challenge for yourself that you're going to ask at least one person for help in a minor thing. Maybe it's help picking up oat milk at the grocery store. Maybe it's asking help from someone to walk your dog. Maybe it's asking a coworker if they could give you a ride home. challenging yourself to embrace new behaviors is really the key to any kind of behavior change. Insight is wonderful, but insight does not create behavior change. Behavior creates behavior change. So going back to module 1, when we're decoding our family system, when you have a geniogram, you're going to become, I would say, a connoisseur of your own family patterns, and that empowers you to create significant shifts in your life. That empowers you to gain wisdom of yourself, right? Know thyself. And that gives you the authority over yourself, because when you start to own your own patterns and your family patterns, there's a level of authority that you become in touch with, that you then have the authority to make the shifts or changes that are appropriate for you, for your well-being, for your emotional freedom, for your sense of feeling like yourself again. So I hope this was helpful. If you have any other questions, send me a comment. You can also follow me on Instagram at Dr. Sylvia K. You can DM me there. But thank you just for being a part of this community, being a part of this type of communication. Sometimes, mental health isn't the most sexiest topic to talk about, but I just want to help create more relatable topics. And I want to start giving you the tools like a geniogram to help you understand you're not alone in your process, and that loneliness didn't start with you. Or maybe some of these self-limiting beliefs that you're struggling with, you'll realize that was passed down from your grandmother or great-grandfather. So the more that we work through this together, I believe the more that you can grow through this together and truly overall achieve a sense of well-being and overall feel just a little less alone in this world.